Kevin Gordon here from Autosavant.com with your January 30th edition of the afternoon commute. Another day of me driving around talking to myself. I've got 6 things to go through today, all smaller items, but all things that caught our attention, starting with the Nürburgring. So the Nürburgring, that famous track that if you've ever played Forza or Gran Turismo on PlayStation, you've probably come to know and think you can drive reasonably well. It's a publicly owned track, but it's privately managed, and they continue to have more and more financial troubles. So the reports that are coming out are saying that the days that you can go there in your own car and drive a lap for whatever it costs, I think it's equivalent to $35 or $40 US, maybe less than that, per lap, may be coming to an end. And this seems to be for multiple reasons. One, all the auto manufacturers keep going there and testing all the time, and they want private time on the track so that their lap times don't get messed up by other drivers, and also just the, expense and liability of upkeep are making it more difficult to maintain. So if you've ever had a dream of going around and flying over to Germany and getting a chance to drive your rental car around the Nürburgring, now's the time to do it, because it might not be a possibility in the near future. Next up on the list, all of the Super Bowl ads are starting to come out, and because I'm sitting here talking to you and I don't really want to link to all of them, you can find them easy enough. Won't go into too much detail. Obviously, the rumored Honda ad with Ferris Bueller has been confirmed. In fact, Honda tweeted about it today. Chevy has a pile of ads coming out. I believe they have 7 spots purchased for the Super Bowl. Hyundai has 3, and we'll see what else comes out as the week goes on. Most likely, despite the fact they'll get a lot of coverage, I'll write up a quick post and just link to all of them on the actual site. So if you're interested, you can switch over and take a look at all of those. Next up on the list, which I just thought of, Chris Hawk, our editor-in-chief, wrote an excellent piece about the fact that auto naming conventions for cars have completely gotten out of control. If there's a chance that you're watching this and you haven't read the article, make sure you go across the site and read it, because it really is, it's excellently done. He comes up with a great set of rules going forward in the future, and it's one of those things, a lot of people talk about it, but I don't think anybody's put into a concise set of paragraphs like that before. So third up on my list for today was to talk about Lamborghini. And Lamborghini has come out and said that they don't expect to have turbocharged engines in their Halo cars this decade. And my initial gut reaction to that was, ooh, you're really going to regret that you said that. But thinking more about it, I have to believe they may actually be correct. There's a very good chance that some of their lower level models, and by lower level models I mean the Gallardo, are probably going to wind up with some kind of turbocharged V8 at some point. But the Aventador, it continuing to run with a large naturally aspirated either V12 or however many cylinders that's going to have, I guess it makes sense. It's that the purity of a naturally aspirated motor, they seem to think can't be replicated in any other way. And what I tied it to, which might be a bit of a jump, is the fact that current Formula One cars and a lot of sports cars are still all naturally aspirated cars. So if you really want to keep those two ties together, even though Lamborghini doesn't really race these days, it does make sense that they're going to keep a naturally aspirated engine, at least in their top level Halo supercar. Speaking of Halo supercars, the first episode of Top Gear was a few days ago, and if you haven't had a chance to see it, it's recommended. people, if you read the reviews, are starting to think that Top Gear is getting a little derivative these days. That may be the case, but it's still the best automotive program, and of course the joke, in the world. It's definitely worth a watch. The guys are funny. It's well shot. Did they really touch on the most poignant issues? No, but if you're a fan of cars and you enjoy watching TV, there's rarely a better way to waste an hour. This weekend was also the 24 Hours of Daytona, in the Grand Am Rolex series. And I did not sit up and watch the entire race. I have to be honest, sports car racing like that, for me personally, I don't know what it is. I just can't get that into it, which is a little weird considering the fact that I'm absolutely nuts about Formula One, and Formula One really has no tie to anything that's production type cars, but for some reason those pan cars with their bubble roofs, just, I don't know what it is. It doesn't do it for me, so I don't really watch it. But it was a very good race this year, and I won't really spoil anything, but if the racing continues to be like it was for the 24, I can expect to see it have a very successful year as the year goes on, and potentially to attract a whole new group of fans to the series. And finally for today, and this happened very early Friday morning, the news came out from Automotive News and was picked up by a few people, but I somehow missed it. And the news is the fact that the CARB, or the California Air Resources Board, which is known in infamy if you're interested in buying aftermarket parts. A few years ago, getting CARB certified was an impressive thing. Anyway, so CARB came out and said that by 2025, they want 15.4% of cars to be fuel cell, fully electric, or plug-in hybrid. I don't know where they came up with 15.4%. I would have gone for a little bit more of a round number, but nevertheless, that's where they are. A lot of the auto manufacturers themselves would normally be sort of resentful of something like this, but they seem to be coming out in favor of it. Dealers are a little annoyed because they're concerned it's going to add a significant cost to a base car, and they're throwing around quotes of $3,000 or $3,200. I think anybody who's looking 13 years into the future and trying to determine what costs will be and what impact will have on the people are either much smarter than I am or foolhardy. I'm fully in support of it. I think that of those three things, fuel cells to me would be my long-term bet. I could be completely wrong, but hydrogen infrastructure, while it does currently take fossil fuels to turn typically water into hydrogen and oxygen to power cars, and as a result, the combustion cycle of them, or the fuel cell cycle of them, releases water, which is about as clean as you can get, and you get a reasonably normal driving experience. You drive a fuel cell car around, you stop at a fueling station. It takes a little bit longer currently than a gasoline engine to fuel up, but nevertheless, you put fuel in it, you continue to drive. Anyway, again, it's the Kevin from On a Savant's soapbox while driving in his afternoon commute. So that's the news. Stay tuned for more this week. I'll be here, should be here all 5 days of this week. The Veloster is not going to be coming on Wednesday because I have to take a business trip next week. So as a result, there will be no afternoon commute next Monday, Tuesday, and potentially Wednesday. But the Veloster will show up next Wednesday, so the 8th of February. Again, Kevin Gordon from Autosavant.com with your afternoon commute, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow.